Hi and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nicole with morningchores.com and today we're talking container gardening for beginners. Container gardening is widely popular and I thought it'd be a great idea to introduce it on this channel. Container gardening is great for those of you that have small spaces. Maybe you live in an apartment with a balcony or you have a very small yard living in the city. Container gardening is a great option to grow things without using a lot of space. Container gardening is also a great option for those of you that may be too busy to manage a big garden. So if you're busy, you're working a lot, but yet you'd like to grow some herbs to use in your cooking, then container gardening is a great way to do that. Or you may be just like me and you have a big garden, but you enjoy having plants on your front porch or patio near the house so that you can enjoy them as you're sitting out and relaxing, or maybe you want some herbs close to the door so you can run out and pinch off some basil or some rosemary to use in your dinner recipe. In today's video, we're going to talk you through choosing the right spaces for your container gardening. We're also going to discuss container options, and then we will go ahead and get planting and talk about different plant options that you can use in your container gardening. Let's get started. The next step in our container gardening process is evaluating the space that you have available. So this may take walking around your property, evaluating what you have, whether you have a house in the city or maybe a balcony off of your apartment, just looking at what spaces you have available. And this is an area where you can get a little bit creative because it doesn't take much space to grow something, and you'll find that you can grow things in the oddest places. I'll talk about the different options for containers in the next section, but take a look at your balcony, your patio, or maybe you have a small yard, or maybe you have windows or a blank wall. You can grow things on a wall. So get creative and have fun with it. The last thing you need to evaluate is the sun. How does the sun hit these outdoor spaces? Because how much sun your outdoor spaces get will determine what flowers and vegetables you can grow. The next step is your container options, and the sky's the limit to what type of containers you can plant in. So first let's talk about flower pots. This is the first kind of go-to thing that our brains go to when it comes to planting. And if you have a patio or a balcony, yes, you could definitely put a couple of potted plants in the corners or on a little table or whatever you dream up. So our first go-to, of course, is the big flower pot. Now this would be good for tomato plants. You could even do peppers in here. You know, your bigger stuff you'd want to put in something like this. You can find these anywhere, big box store, online. Ask your friends and family. A lot of times you can find these at garage sales. So maybe check there before buying full price options. Another option is wooden boxes. This is something you can find at estate sales, flea markets, antique stores. I was walking along the sidewalk in one of my local towns and a guy was putting these out, and I scored these for $4 a piece. So I was really excited because they're solid wood and I know they're gonna last a long time. And this is always really cute if you want kind of a more rustic look. You can go for this option. And these are a little bit more compact, so you could fit maybe more of these in a smaller space. Another popular option for potted plants is, of course, hanging baskets. This is a really easy thing to do, especially if you have even more limited space. Maybe you don't have a balcony at all and you have a space where you could hang it outside of a window. So this is always a pretty option, and it won't take up any space on the floor of your patio, your balcony, or whatever. You can hang these up so that you have plenty of extra space in your outdoor area. Another off-the-wall option is this behind me. This is an old wash tub, and I have our kindling in it for our campfires. But I have planted flowers in this. I usually do it in the fall. I plant mums, and it's really pretty, but this is another option. So sometimes you can find stuff like this, again, at flea markets or estate sales, and use them as planters, and it works. Another option for container gardening is using raised beds, and I did a video on how to build this from scratch, so if you missed that video I will link it down below. But if you have a little bit more space, so maybe you own a house in the city and you have a tiny backyard but still a backyard, you may be able to utilize the space with raised beds. And it's also nice in smaller spaces to use raised beds as opposed to just putting a garden in, because you can organize it better. It keeps things looking a little bit more tidy, because in small spaces things can get messy and congested very quickly. but having a raised bed will keep things looking organized and look really nice in your backyard. So let's say you fall in the camp of having absolutely zero, no outdoor space. You have no balcony or deck, no patio, no yard. What can you do then? Well, I've got some ideas for you. Follow me. So how about window boxes? If you have windows, you may be able to install some flower boxes, and this is a great way to plant some things with having zero outdoor space. The last option I wanted to talk about in regards to containers is using a blank wall to grow things. So maybe your space is very, very limited and you have maybe a wall that you could grow vine plants on, plants that grow up. So as you can see here, I used a pallet. I got this for free, and then I purchased these containers from IKEA. They were very reasonable and they're very big, and they just hang on here. And you could actually mount this pallet to the wall if you wanted to do so. I just have it leaning up, but it really doesn't take that much space. And even if you had a balcony or patio, this is something you could do if you don't want to take up a lot of space on the balcony. If you want to put a table or some chairs out, this is something you could kind of tuck in the corner and it wouldn't take up a lot of room. Another option that I saw at IKEA is they sell a flower box with a lattice wall, and you can attach the lattice to the wall, have the flower box at the bottom, and plant something that grows up. You could do cucumbers this way, tomatoes, or any type of flower that's viney and grows upward. Now that we've chosen what containers we want to use, it's now time to decide what to plant. And I had mentioned earlier in the video that you need to pay attention to where the sun hits in your outdoor spaces, because that will determine what will grow best in your areas. The next thing to consider as far as what plants to buy is, what do you want? Do you prefer flowers? Do you want to use herbs in the kitchen? So maybe plant some herbs. Or maybe you want some tomato plants, pepper plants on your patio because you like eating those. This is the next question, so this will be a personal preference thing. As you can see here, I have an assortment of flowers, and most of these flowers take partial to full sun, which is what I need because most of these will be going on my back porch, and our back porch only gets sun for half the day. So I needed flowers that could handle partial sun, partial shade, which is why I chose what I chose. And then I have some herbs here. I'm also going to plant some herbs so that I have them readily available right outside my door. I also have an herb garden in the front of the yard, but I thought it would be nice to also put some of these back here as well. Plus, it's going to add a little bit of color to my very brown deck. So I thought that would be kind of fun, and also they smell really good. I can really smell this basil. Smells really good. I also have some oregano, parsley. It's preferable to plant annuals in potted plants when it comes to container gardening. It's not that you can't plant a perennial in a container. Just know that when it starts to get colder outside, you need to be able to bring that plant indoors. So if you don't have the space to store your perennial plants, then maybe don't plant those. But you can plant them in containers. Just know you'll have to bring it in when the snow starts flying. The first thing I like to do is go ahead and lay out my plants so I know exactly how I want to plant them. The next step is prepping your containers. This particular container had a big gap in the bottom, plus with it being wood, I decided to line it with parchment paper. Next, apply a layer of drainage to your containers. If your containers do not have holes in the bottom, adding a layer of rocks will create drainage for your plants. Next, add a good quality all-purpose potting mix to your containers. Once my flowers are planted, I like to add a layer of wood chips to help protect the soil and aid in moisture retention. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. You can also head over to morningchores.com where you'll find all kinds of information on homesteading, gardening, DIY, and much, much more. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.